The first snow of the season always arrived quietly in Pine Hollow. No thunder, no warning, no dramatic entrance, just a silent transformation overnight. When I pulled back my bedroom curtain that morning, the world had been buried under a flawless white sheet, stretching from my driveway to the tree line beyond my fence. The streetlights reflected off the snow like stars trapped on the ground. It was beautiful. Peaceful. And I knew instantly it wouldn't stay that way. Pine Hollow Estates looked idyllic on the brochure: quiet community, modern homes, shared values. What the brochure didn't say was that it came with a hyperactive homeowners association run by people who had nothing better to do than micromanage their neighbors' lives. At the center of it all was Karen Whitmore, self-appointed queen of communal property and professional complainer. I'd lived here for 6 years. Long enough to know that winter didn't just bring snow, it brought Karen. I slipped on my boots, zipped up my jacket, and headed to the garage. My pride and joy sat waiting patiently, a heavy-duty, gas-powered snowblower. Not cheap. Not small. Definitely not communal. I bought it after my second winter in Pine Hollow, when Karen had convinced the HOA board to ban private plowing services because the noise disturbed community harmony. That winter nearly broke my back. I promised myself never again. The engine roared to life as I guided it down the driveway. Snow flew cleanly to the side, landing in perfect arcs. 10 minutes later, my driveway was spotless, my sidewalk clear, and the curb passable. That's when I saw her. Karen stood at the end of her driveway, arms crossed, wearing an expensive white coat that looked better suited for a ski lodge photo shoot than actual winter. Her driveway? Completely buried. She hadn't lifted a shovel. She watched me for a moment, lips pressed into a thin line. Then she marched over. I turned off the snow blower before she could start yelling. "Good morning, Karen," I said calmly. She didn't return the greeting. "That machine," she said, pointing at it like it had personally offended her, "needs to be used for the community." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "The HOA bylaws clearly state that equipment which benefits the community must be made available during emergencies," she said, reciting something she had clearly made up in her head. I smiled. "Snow isn't an emergency. It's winter." Her eyes narrowed. "My driveway is inaccessible." "So is mine," I said. "That's why I bought a snowblower." She took a step closer. "You're being selfish. Elderly residents could get hurt." "Then maybe the HOA should invest in one," I replied. Her face flushed red. "I am the HOA president. And this is my property." Karen inhaled sharply. "I expect you to bring that snowblower to my driveway immediately." I laughed. I honestly couldn't help it. "No," I said. She stared at me like I'd just spoken in another language. "No," she repeated. "No," I said again. "It's mine. I paid for it. I maintain it. I use it." Her voice dropped into that icy, condescending tone I'd heard many times before. "If you don't cooperate, I will report you for violating community standards." "For owning snow removal equipment?" "For refusing to assist the HOA." I shrugged. "Do what you have to do." Karen stood there for a long moment, snowflakes landing on her perfectly styled hair. Then she turned on her heel and stormed back to her house, slipping slightly on the snow as she went. I watched her go, restarted my snowblower, and finished clearing the path to the street. At the time, I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The HOA letter. The letter arrived 2 hours later. Not an email. Not a phone call. An actual printed letter, slid into my mailbox like it was a court summons. Notice of non-compliance. I read it twice, then laughed so hard I had to sit down. According to Karen, I had violated Community Emergency Cooperation Clause 7B. The penalty? A $250 fine and mandatory surrender of snow removal equipment during snowfall events. I marched straight to my laptop and pulled up the HOA bylaws. There was no Clause 7B. There wasn't even a Clause 7. I printed the bylaws, highlighted the relevant sections, and sent Karen an email. There is no such clause. Do not contact me again regarding my personal property. Her reply came within 5 minutes. Your lack of cooperation will be noted. The community will remember this. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about snow. It was about control. The second snowfall. 2 days later, the storm hit hard. Wind howled through the neighborhood, piling snow against houses like barricades. By morning, Pine Hollow was practically frozen in place. Cars were buried. Sidewalks vanished. I cleared my driveway early, enjoying the rhythmic hum of the engine. Halfway through, I noticed something strange. Karen's garage door was open. She stood inside, shivering, staring at her snow-covered driveway like it had betrayed her. No shovel. No salt. No plan. She spotted me and immediately started waving. "Hey," she shouted. "You. Over here." I shut off the snowblower again and waited. She trudged over, snow soaking into her boots. Her teeth were chattering, but her pride stayed intact. "The HOA has decided," she said through clenched teeth, "that you will clear my driveway." I crossed my arms. "Did the HOA buy me a snowblower?" "No." "Then no." Her eyes widened. "People are watching." I looked around. Curtains twitched. Neighbors peeked out like spectators at a slow-motion disaster. "Let them," I said. She leaned closer. "I can fine you every day." "For what?" "For being uncooperative." I smiled. "Try it." The wind picked up, sending snow swirling around us. Karen's face was pale now, her breath fogging in the air. "Just do it," she snapped. "This is ridiculous." "No," I said calmly. "You demanded my property. You threatened me. Now you want my help." She scoffed. "So what, you're just going to let me freeze?" I paused. Then said the words that would echo through Pine Hollow for years. "I'll help you," I said, "when you apologize." Her mouth fell open. "Apologize," she repeated. "For demanding my property. For threatening fines. For lying about the bylaws." She laughed a short, brittle sound. "Never." I nodded. "Then I guess we're done here." I turned the snowblower back on and walked away, the engine drowning out her protests. Behind me, Karen stood in the snow, shaking not just from the cold, but from disbelief. For the first time, someone had said no. And winter was just getting started. By noon, Pine Hollow Estates looked less like a suburban neighborhood and more like an abandoned winter outpost. Cars sat half-buried, driveways disappeared entirely, and the plows hadn't touched our street yet. The wind howled between houses, rattling mailboxes and snapping tree branches. Inside my home, it was warm, quiet, and peaceful. Outside, chaos brewed, and at the center of it was Karen Whitmore. My phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls. HOA group messages. Emails marked urgent. I ignored all of them. I was halfway through my coffee when there was a violent knock at the door. Not a polite tap, this was a demand. I opened it to find 3 HOA board members standing on my porch, snow clinging to their coats. Behind them, down at the curb, Karen stood with her arms wrapped around herself, stamping her feet to keep warm. Her white coat was now soaked and gray with slush. "Can we talk?" one of the board members asked, teeth chattering. I stepped aside. "Come in." They didn't remove their boots. No one ever did when they were nervous. "This situation has gotten out of hand," said Tom, the treasurer. "Karen says you're refusing to help during an emergency." I leaned against the wall. "There is no emergency. There's snow. It happens every year." "She's stranded," another board member said. "She has 2 arms," I replied. "And a shovel she's never used." Tom sighed. "Look, we're not here to argue. We just need you to clear her driveway. For the sake of peace." "For the sake of peace?" I repeated. "Did she apologize?" They exchanged uncomfortable glances. "No," Tom admitted. "Then the answer is still no." One of them lowered his voice. "She's threatening to call the police." I laughed. "For what? Theft of snow?" At that moment, the front door opened again. Karen had pushed past them without invitation. "This is outrageous," she shouted, snow melting onto my floor. "I am freezing because of your stubbornness." I looked at her calmly. "You're freezing because you refuse to apologize." She stared at me like I had slapped her. "You think this is funny?" she demanded. "No," I said. "I think this is a consequence." Her voice rose. "The HOA board demands." "The HOA board," I interrupted, "can demand whatever it wants. But they don't own my property." She turned to the others. "Are you hearing this?" They nodded, but none of them looked confident. Karen's hands were shaking now, not dramatically, but uncontrollably. Her breath came out in short bursts. "This is an emergency," she insisted. I pointed toward the window. "Then call the city." Call a plow. Call a contractor. They're all booked. I shrugged. That sounds like poor planning. She clenched her jaw. I will fine you. I will lien your house. You don't have the authority, I said calmly. And you know it. Silence fell over the room. That was the first crack. Karen had ruled Pine Hollow through intimidation, not legality. And now that someone was calling her bluff, the board members were realizing how little power she actually had. Tom cleared his throat. Karen, maybe we should reconsider how we approach this. She whipped around. Excuse me? I mean, he said carefully, maybe asking for help instead of demanding it. No, she snapped. If we give in now, he'll think he can ignore us forever. I smiled. I already do. Her face twisted with fury. Fine, she said. I don't need you. She stormed out, nearly slipping on my steps. The board members followed, murmuring apologies. I closed the door and went back to my coffee. The call that changed everything. An hour later, I heard sirens. 2 police cruisers rolled slowly into Pine Hollow, tires crunching over packed snow. Neighbors gathered at windows and doorways, whispering. I already knew who called them. There was another knock, this time firm, professional. I opened the door to a tall officer with tired eyes and a shorter one scribbling in a notebook. Sir, the tall one said, we received a report of property refusal during a declared emergency. I raised an eyebrow. Declared by whom? The officer hesitated. The HOA president. I smiled. The city hasn't declared an emergency. He nodded slowly. That's what we figured. Karen appeared behind them like a ghost in a snowstorm. He's endangering lives, she shouted. The officer turned to her. Ma'am, refusing to lend personal equipment is not a crime. But. And, he continued, making false emergency reports can be. Her mouth snapped shut. The shorter officer flipped his notebook closed. This seems like a civil matter. I leaned against the doorframe. She demanded my property and threatened fines that don't exist. Karen looked ready to scream. The tall officer sighed. Ma'am, you should go inside. It's cold. I won't forget this, she hissed at me before turning away. The police left. The street fell quiet again. But something had changed. The neighborhood turns. By evening, messages started appearing in the community group chat. Did Karen really call the cops? She told me the snowblower was HOA property. That's not true, right? She tried to fine me last year for Christmas lights. Stories poured out, complaints, threats, fake violations. People were comparing notes for the first time. Karen had ruled because no one challenged her. Until now. I sat back, watching the conversation unfold, saying nothing. Outside, the snow kept falling. And Karen's driveway remained untouched. The snow didn't stop for 3 days. By the second night, Pine Hollow Estates was effectively cut off from the rest of the city. Plows prioritized main roads, leaving neighborhoods like ours buried under drifts that reached halfway up parked cars. Power flickered but held. Internet slowed. Tempers, however, snapped easily. Karen's grip on the community loosened with every passing hour. The group chat had transformed from polite updates into a digital rebellion. People were sharing screenshots of old HOA emails, threatening letters, and fines that were never explained. Patterns emerged, Karen demanding compliance, inventing rules, and leveraging fear to maintain control. Someone finally asked the question everyone had avoided for years. Do we even know if these fines are legal? No one answered. That silence spoke volumes. I kept my routine simple. Each morning, I cleared my driveway, the sidewalk in front of my house, and the fire hydrant down the street. I did it not to be kind, but to be careful. I wasn't going to give Karen even the smallest excuse to escalate again. Every time I started the snowblower, I could feel eyes on me. And every time, Karen's driveway remained buried. She tried shoveling once. I watched from my window as she made it 10 minutes before giving up, hands shaking, breath ragged. She threw the shovel down like it had personally betrayed her and retreated indoors. That image, Karen defeated by a basic winter chore, circulated quickly. Someone took a photo. Someone else added a caption. The tone shifted from fear to ridicule. Karen noticed. She sent out an official HOA announcement that evening, claiming that acts of sabotage and selfishness were undermining community unity. She named no one, but everyone knew who she meant. The response was immediate and brutal. Maybe stop threatening people. You called the cops on a neighbor over snow. You don't own our property. By midnight, Karen locked the comments. That was mistake number 2. The emergency HOA meeting. Karen scheduled an emergency HOA meeting for the following afternoon virtual because no one could leave their homes. Attendance was the highest in Pine Hollow history. Faces filled the screen in little boxes, bundled in sweaters, irritation written plainly across their expressions. Karen appeared last, sitting stiffly in her home office, lips pursed, eyes cold. We are here, she began, to address a serious breakdown in community cooperation. Someone unmuted themselves immediately. You mean when you lied about bylaws? Another voice followed. Or when you threatened illegal fines? Karen slammed her hand on the desk. I will not be disrespected. I waited. Then I spoke. You're being questioned, I said calmly. That's not disrespect. She turned her glare toward my box. You started this. No, I replied. You demanded my property. The room went quiet. Tom, the treasurer, cleared his throat. Karen, can you show us Clause 7b? Her eyes flickered. I don't have it in front of me. Because it doesn't exist, someone said. A murmur of agreement rippled through the call. Karen straightened. I was acting in the best interest of the community. No, another neighbor said. You were acting in your own interest. The accusations piled up: selective enforcement, intimidation, fabricated violations. People spoke with years of frustration finally finding a voice. Karen tried to interrupt. Tried to regain control. It didn't work. Finally, someone said the words that changed everything. I motioned for a vote of no confidence. The silence that followed was heavy. Karen laughed. You can't remove me. Tom hesitated. Actually, we can. The vote was quick. Overwhelming. Karen Whitmore was removed as HOA president, effective immediately. Her screen went dark. The apology. That night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Karen standing on my porch alone. She looked different. No white coat. No perfect hair. Just a woman wrapped in a worn jacket, eyes tired, face pale from the cold and something deeper: humiliation. I need your help, she said quietly. I waited. My driveway is still blocked, she continued. I can't get my car out. I haven't left the house in days. I met her gaze. You know what I need to hear. She swallowed. I'm sorry, she said. The words came out stiff, practiced, but they were there. I shouldn't have demanded your snowblower. I shouldn't have threatened you. I was wrong. I studied her for a moment. Then I stepped aside. Bring a shovel, I said. Her eyes widened. You're still going to make me. No, I interrupted. I'm going to help you. But you're going to help too. She nodded quickly. We worked in silence, the snowblower roaring, her shovel scraping. It took less than 20 minutes. When we were done, her driveway was clear. She looked at it like it was a miracle. Thank you, she said softly. I nodded. Winter teaches lessons, I said. Some people just learn them later. She turned and walked back to her house.